so I'm not a crook.
We are Candor Talk Live, the new progressive raw talk show discussing current hot political and social topics. The host is DICESI, www.candortalk.com.
All right. Good evening, everybody. As you know, this is Candor Talk Live, and I am your host, Dicey. And we changed the show, time, place, everything. We changed it. It's Saturdays now at 11 p.m. And you know why we decided to change to Saturdays? Because, we were looking at, what is probably best for everybody that's paying attention to what's going on in the movement, what's going on in politics. What's best for everybody is that they probably need to hear these things outside of the mainstream media and not to be trying to compete with the mainstream media. I mean, we just can't compete with the mainstream media in terms of viewership and getting people engaged. And so this is a time period where the mainstream media is actually off. And if you're somebody who is completely concerned about all the things that are going on in this country, then you probably want to listen to something 24/7 about what's going on with this crazy man that we have in the White House. But anyway, so thank you so much for tuning in, for those of you who have tuned in. And today's show is going to go longer than 20 minutes. As we told you guys before, most of our shows are going to be 20 minutes long, or no longer than 20 minutes in terms of how long we actually are telling you stuff. So that's just a bunch of introductory stuff, so I just want to make sure you guys understand that. But today's show is actually going to be a lot longer than 20 minutes, because today's show is actually very important. The reason why I think today's show is more important than, one of the shows that I do that maybe is 20 minutes long, is because it's time, I think, that we need to start getting Donald Trump supporters to understand this. You continuing to support him is just ridiculous at this point. And so the title of today's show is I've Had It with Trump Supporters. He's hitting you the hardest. And that's the truth. Let me tell you who Donald Trump is. The man in the White House is the biggest con artist the world has ever seen. Let me say that again. The man in the White House is the biggest con artist the world has ever seen. He is a sociopath, which means he lacks empathy and compassion. He's cold, callous, and calculating. Those are signs of a sociopath. He lies like a sociopath. He's irresponsible like a sociopath. He's manipulative. Oh my gosh, is he manipulative? He's manipulative like a sociopath. He lacks emotion like a sociopath. He's untrustworthy like a damn sociopath. A sociopath feels no empathy, no emotion. They don't feel the kind of feelings that we feel, like fear or anxiety or stress or depression or remorse or guilt or caring or love. They don't naturally feel these things, and he doesn't feel these things. Now, I just ran down a list of some of the things that, some of the characteristics, that encompass a sociopath. Now I want you to hear some of the things that Donald Trump has actually said. You can say, look, you're a liberal, so you're so partisan, and so you're just going to say anything that's negative about Donald Trump. Fine. But don't take it from me. I just told you what they have stated is the signs of a sociopath. Now let me show you what Donald Trump himself has said. The things that this man has said himself. Don't take it from me. Listen to what this guy has done. I told you the things that make up a sociopath. Lying, irresponsible, manipulative, lacking emotion. No remorse, no guilt, no caring, no love. Lying, let me say that again, untrustworthy. But listen to Donald Trump. I just want you to listen to Donald Trump. Don't take it from me.
So I made a speech to the African American Chamber of Commerce in South Carolina. Wonderful people. And the room was full. Every seat was full.
every seat full? Not so much. This picture was taken while Mr. Trump was speaking. Here's some video around the same time. Notice he's on stage. And notice the many empty seats in the back of the room.
We have a president that said 3,000. Now he wants to bring in 250,000 people.
In fact, the Obama administration only committed to letting in 10,000 refugees from Syria.
I watched when the World Trade Center came tumbling down. And I watched in Jersey City, New Jersey, where thousands and thousands of people were cheering.
And there were only a few people spotted cheering after the Twin Towers fell.
He just seems to have a disregard for the facts. About 3/4 of the statements we have rated have either earned mostly false, or pants on fire.
Don't worry about that baby. I love babies. So I love babies. I hear that baby crying. I like it. What a baby. Ripped us absolutely to shreds. Actually, I was only kidding. You can get the baby out of here. I think she really believed me that I love having a baby crying while I'm speaking. Do I look like a president? How handsome am I, right? How handsome. I will be the greatest jobs president that God ever created. I tell you. I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words. I have the...
Look down at the lower right-hand corner and you will see the name Tony Schwartz. Tony Schwartz, longtime journalist, was the ghostwriter for Art of the Deal.
Because one of the things you say is he has no attention span. It's impossible to keep him focused on any topic other than his own self-aggrandizement for more than a few minutes. Quote, you say to Jane Mayer, if he had to be briefed on a crisis in the Situation Room, it's impossible to imagine him paying attention over a long period of time. Didn't you have to get him to pay attention to you for a long period of time in order for you to co-write this book with him?
I almost gave up on the book, Rachel, halfway through because it was so impossible to interview him. And I actually called my agent and said from Mar-a-Lago, from my room in Mar-a-Lago, over a weekend, I give up. I'm quitting. And I got back on the plane heading home, and I had this inspiration, which was to ask him to let me sit in and listen on his phone call so that I could try to piece together the deals that he was making from other people. And that was the way I got the book done.
Nobody knows the system better than me, which is why I alone can fix it. I know more about ISIS than the generals do, believe me.
The headline is ex-wife. Donald Trump made me feel violated during sex. The next line is Ivana Trump once accused the real estate tycoon of, quote, rape, although she later clarified not in the criminal sense. And the essence of this piece is, I'm just reading this literally as we are on the air, is that during their divorce proceeding, which was ugly, she accused him of a, quote, violent assault, pulling back her arms, pulling out fistfuls of her hair, and then, quote, raping her in a vicious manner. Donald Trump has previously, this is back in 1989, this allegedly happened. He has denied it previously, years and years ago, saying it is obviously false, and going after the guy who wrote it as a vindictive and jealous man. Somebody who speaks for Donald Trump has come out and denied it as well, and added that legally, he says, you cannot rape your spouse, although I'm not sure about that as a legal matter. We'll leave that for another day.
Fights. We should have world record-setting fights, but we really don't. We get along very well, and there's not a lot of disagreement because ultimately Ivana does exactly as I tell her to do.
See, wait a minute. When you see that, what do you think?
Well, I tell you, I have changed quite a bit. I will not let men dominate me anymore.
There seems to be a pattern, Mr. Trump. When you're criticized or attacked, you often respond with name-calling, using terms like dummy, loser, total losers on Twitter and elsewhere. You even demean some people's physical appearance.
So I have, she gets out and she starts asking me all sorts of ridiculous questions. And, you know, you could see there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever. But excuse me.
It's stronger
Yes, I have a
background
gun.
checks.
Excuse me.
The number of excuse me's escalates
Excuse me.
What was that based on?
Excuse me.
as tempers rise.
You're a
not- excuse
billionaire,
me,
though.
excuse
Why
me.
would you not move it here just for
Excuse me.
having it in America?
Excuse me, because I'm a businessman.
You are constantly denouncing some journalists who write about you and talk about you. Let me run through it. ABC's Martha Raddatz, unprofessional and biased, you say. NBC's Chuck Todd, a real loser. National News' Jonah Goldberg, dumb as a rock. Columnist George Will, a total dope. Fox's Charles Krauthammer, a totally overrated clown.
Some kind words yesterday for Ted Cruz, but do you owe his father an apology for saying he was with Lee Harvey Oswald before JFK's assassination? You don't really have
all
the
I
evidence
was
to back
doing
up
was
that
referring
claim,
to
so
a-
no apology.
I'm just referring to an article that appeared. I mean,
On the Mexican comments, why not say, maybe I went too far, poor choice of words, or even, I'm sorry?
I don't have to say that. Look.
And that was Donald Trump. He's unapologetic about his controversial proposal to ban Muslims from entering the U.S. But given
to subject my wife into the middle of a raucous political conversation was completely inappropriate, and I hope you apologize for that, Donald.
well, I have to tell you, I hear phenomenal things. I hear your wife is a lovely woman.
She is.
I
She's
don't
fantastic.
know her, and this
She
is
is
a total
absolutely the love of my life, and
mischaracterization of what
she's
I
right
said.
here, and why don't
Good.
you apologize
Good.
for her?
No, I won't
right
do that
now.
because I said nothing wrong, but I do hear
So
she's a
here's-
lovely woman.
Excuse me, to John McCain, a war hero, 5.5 years as a POW, and you call him a dummy. Is that appropriate in running for president?
Okay, but, you know, he lost. So I never liked him as much after that because I don't like losers. But Frank, let me get to him. He hit me. He's not a war hero.
He's a war hero.
He's a war hero.
5.5 years
He's
as a
a war
POW
hero because he
camp.
was captured. I like people that weren't captured, okay? I hate to tell you.
Have you ever said anything you regret?
Yes, I have on many occasions.
Can you tell us a few of those? Not the
No, I
birther
would-
issue,
no,
not
I
the
wouldn't do
immigrant
that.
issue.
No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that, Martha. I wouldn't do that. It's not the appropriate time.
How would you answer that, Father? What sacrifice have you made for your country?
I think I made a lot of sacrifices. I worked very, very hard. I've created thousands and thousands of jobs.
Trump also questioned the silence from Mrs. Khan during the speech, suggesting she was oppressed by her religion. This morning on CNN, she answered the critique, saying she was overcome seeing her deceased son's photo on stage.
Mr. Khan was on all the shows this weekend, explaining in a very articulate way about how much he loved this country and how much his son loved this country, and his son was a hero, and that Donald Trump had a black soul and was incapable of showing empathy. And by Donald Trump's own reaction, it's hard to argue that that wasn't true.
Why do you think Donald Trump finds it so difficult, seemingly, to speak to loss?
Speaks
to
very
what it's
well.
like to lose something, to lose a son or a daughter in combat, to lose your home, to loss. I mean, we just showed a clip of Donald Trump in Florida. He started talking about Gold Star families and quickly equated the Gold Star family meeting to money. He had a check from a Gold Star family.
I don't accept that it's difficult for him
why
to speak
hasn't he
to
done
loss. He has done it. You talk about
I'm
that.
asking, has he ever been able to speak of loss and connect with someone else's loss? And you said he has. Tell us where. Tell us when.
Well, he's talked about enormous loss that we've had in this country by allowing radical Islamic extremists to run rampant.
Okay, now, I want to credit the people who actually made this video. They're on YouTube. They're called The Rational National. And the title of the video is 9 Ways Donald Trump is a Sociopath. So they made the video. We did not make the video, but obviously we're just republishing it on here, broadcasting it on here for the purposes of giving you context. So you heard that. I mean, even at the end of that video clip, did you hear Ben Carson? He was even unable to tell you how Donald Trump is even able or capable of showing you or showing anyone any empathy or any remorse. Even Ben Carson, who is supposed to be his HUD secretary, at least now. I mean, obviously he wasn't at the time, but he couldn't even articulate how Donald Trump can show empathy. You know why? Because People who are sociopaths, they just don't show it. They can't show remorse. You see all the times that he had said things that were just horrible. He shows absolutely no remorse. He's cold. He's callous. He's calculating. He lies. Oh, the lies. The lies were enormous. Trump can lie with impunity. He will make you feel good with his words, but has no intentions of delivering on his promises. He's a con. Since he's become the president of the United States, he hasn't accomplished anything at all, except deregulate the country to make it easier for corporations and enterprises like him to get richer. He claims, these GOP people claim that deregulation leads to job growth. But the economy has been growing since President Obama became president with regulations. We had regulations. Don't tell me the economy wasn't growing, jobs weren't being created because we had regulations. People were still creating jobs. You think these billionaires are going to stop being greedy because we had regulations? No, they were still creating jobs. And deregulation doesn't help Trump supporters. How does that help the average Joe that's working in a factory somewhere, who could possibly get injured or whatever else? So how does it help these individuals that work, 2 shifts every single day? How does it help those people? And those are the people who voted for him. You are the people that voted for him. Deregulation is not going to help you. They keep telling you, it's the economy and the market and all this stuff. They're lying to you. We had job growth with regulations. Regulations don't stop corporations from hiring. Regulations stop corporations from screwing you over. That's what they do. That whole drain the swamp slogan was and still is complete bullshit. If you don't believe me, then let me tell you what he's done to fill up the swamp since he's become president. He's appointed Goldman Sachs individuals, okay? People that work for Goldman Sachs. That's what he's done. Remember Donald Trump, the guy that was allegedly against Goldman Sachs? Oh, you don't remember him? Well, let me tell you about this tweet he sent January 16th, 2016, and I'm getting this from Heavy.com. He says, was there another loan that Ted Cruz forgot to file? Goldman Sachs owns him. He will do anything they demand. Not much of a reformer. Ooh, big words from somebody who ended up hiring all these people from Goldman Sachs. And you could just say, oh, you know what? That is such fake news. That's just not true. Because that's what a lot of Trump supporters want to say. It's fake news. It's fake news. It's not true. It's not true. And that was in the past. He said that before. When it says he's become president, he's become a better person. Let me tell you who he has employed from Goldman Sachs. Steve Bannon is from Goldman Sachs. Steve Mnuchin is from Goldman Sachs. Gary Kahn is from Goldman Sachs. Clay Clayton is from Goldman Sachs. Okay? So don't come and start trying to tell me that Donald Trump is so opposed to Goldman Sachs. This is a guy who was filling up the place with Goldman Sachs former employees. But he was criticizing Ted Cruz for the same exact thing. He's appointed so many billionaires. Like Betsy DeVos. Betsy DeVos has absolutely no business as a Secretary of Education. She has no idea what she's even talking about. The woman is completely and totally and utterly clueless. She is literally one of the most clueless individuals you will ever see in your entire life. But she's the Secretary of Education? She is the Secretary of Education? Give me a break. His cabinet, at a minimum, has a combined net worth of at least $15 billion. He just filled that mug up with billionaires. Congratulations, Trump supporters. Congratulations. He didn't hire the wonks and the geniuses. He hired the business elites to help him set up a system that helps him and them get richer. I'm sorry, was it a whole bunch of rich people that were supporting Donald Trump during the election season? No, I don't recall that. I think it was the average Joe and the regular American that was supporting him primarily. Okay? He didn't do too well with the college-educated, more elitist type of... He didn't really do too well with them, but for some reason, he feels so much more compelled to protect their interests. Oh, and he's draining the swamp, right? He's draining it, guys. He is draining that swamp. Who did he team up with for this Trump care bill? It didn't sound like somebody was an outsider. Didn't sound like somebody was about to punch the system. No, you know who it was? The same Paul Ryan. That's literally one of the founders of the swamp. The corrupt Paul Ryan. The guy who's taking all this money from special interests. The guy who is literally sold himself, his entire soul, to corporate elitists. That's the person he teamed up with for the Trump care bill. No, he didn't team up with the Tea Party or even the Extreme Party, the ones who are not part of necessarily that DC establishment bubble. No, he teamed up with the DC establishment bubble to propose a bill that will fuck over every single person except for the people he cares about the most, and that's the rich. It's not you, Trump supporters. It wasn't you. No, my dear friends. It was not you. And after he's done all these things, lied to you, you still support him. But we're going to get into more of the things that he's done, because this isn't just me talking. I showed you from the very beginning, you are being conned by a sociopath. This is somebody who is lying to you. Everything he has done since he's been president has shown you that he's lying. This whole myth about jobs coming back to the United States, they're not coming back to the United States. Just because the market looks like it's just blowing up right now, you know who's confident? The richest people in the world. They're confident because they're going to make the most money out of a Trump presidency. Everyone else is going to be screwed over. Every single other person. And you know what? It's the saddest thing is his supporters are going to be screwed over the most. And that is literally one of the saddest things about this whole situation, is the fact that the people who have loved this man and protected this man are going to be his greatest victims. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back from the break, we're going to get it more into Donald Trump, some of the things that he's doing right now, talk some more about this, and why, Trump supporters, you guys have got to wake up. We'll be right back from the break. Stay with us.
Preview. 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 Preview.
Some people have claimed that our third molars, commonly referred to as wisdom teeth, often cause trouble in modern humans because our mouths are smaller than our supposed evolutionary ancestors. However, impacted wisdom teeth don't afflict all ethnic groups. Numerous people groups today have plenty of room in their jaws to accommodate their third molars. Modern dental research has shown that diet is a major factor in jaw development. In non-technological cultures, impacted wisdom teeth are almost unknown. Their tougher diet exercises their jaw muscles more, and this helps their jaws develop properly. The tougher diet also results in tooth wear, and the normal compensation for this wear involves the gradual migration of teeth towards the front of the mouth, thus creating more room for the third molars. However, the modern diet of soft, processed foods does not promote proper jaw development, which can lead to impacted wisdom teeth. So, impacted wisdom teeth do not support evolutionary storytelling.
To find out more from Creation Ministries International, visit our website, creation.com. Preview. Preview.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for staying with us. And obviously, we do not have the greatest commercial ads. You know, maybe one day when the show is like really, really rich, we'll be able to get like great commercial ads, and you guys will be so entertained during the break. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. I was telling you before the break how much Donald Trump is screwing over his supporters. Another way that he's screwing over supporters is the American Health Care Act. If you think the AHCA, which is the American Health Care Act, wasn't a direct F you, fuck you to his supporters, then you are literally so gullible that I can sell you used tissue. Do you want to hear what the AHCA does? I'll let you hear what the AHCA does from an independent body, the analysis of what an independent body called the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, specifically said would happen with the AHCA. Don't let them tell you right now that it's going to help you, Trump supporters, because it's not going to help you. But let's talk about what the AHCA will. Let's just hear. You're going to hear a clip from Morning Joe where Steve Ratner sits there and discusses what's going to happen with the AHCA. I want you to hear the clip. Don't hear it from me. And I know you're not going to say, oh, they're fake news and they're liars and they're corrupt and they're part of the system. But when your pockets start getting hit and when you start seeing yourself in the hospital and you can't pay your bills, don't tell me or anyone else that we didn't warn you. Listen to Steve Ratner.
We disagree strenuously with the report that was put out.
I strenuously object. Is that how it works? Objection overruled. No. No, I strenuously object. Oh, wow. You strenuously object, and I should take some time to reconsider.
Perhaps he might want to do that. Steve Ratner has been crunching the CBO numbers for you. Steve, what did you find?
Well, he can object strenuously or otherwise, but the numbers are what the numbers are. And so to start with who's going to lose their health care, you mentioned the 24 million number. Let's just break that down a little bit. So from the total of 24 million that you can see here in 2026, they're going to lose 14 million of these are going to be lost from Medicaid, both from regular Medicaid and particularly from this expanded Medicaid that President Obama, put in place. And these are amongst the poorest Americans. About 3 million who buy them on the so-called exchanges now will lose their insurance. And here's something maybe a little bit surprising, but about 7 million people will actually lose employer-based insurance under this, in part because they're removing the mandate on employers to provide insurance. And the impact of this by 2026, can we just go back to the previous chart for 1 second? The impact on this by 2026 will be to take the uninsured rate, which went all the way down to 10% from up in the 18% range, back to 19%, so all the way back from where we came. If you then look at the next chart, you can see that the tax credits that President Trump is offering are not really a substitute for the subsidies that Obama offered. And let me illustrate this with somebody with $26,500 of income, a lower income person in 2026. You can see that they would have gotten under Obama a subsidy here of about $12,600. They're now going to get a tax credit of about $4,500. So not nearly enough if you're 60 years old to pay for your insurance. And the same is true to lesser degrees at lower ages. By contrast, if you make $68,000, you're going to get the same exact tax credits. You would not have gotten a subsidy under Obamacare because it was deemed that Obamacare was not subsidies were not needed for you to pay for your health insurance. So bringing this all together is really perhaps the most remarkable example of how they're in effect taking money from less well-off people and giving it to more well-off people. They're talking about $880 million of Medicaid cuts, another $675 million to end the ACA subsidies. They're giving back about $542 million through their own tax credits. But the bottom line is a net cut of $1.1 trillion in health care assistance for people of lower incomes and for the poor. And against that, they're cutting taxes by $785 billion, the vast preponderance of that going to people making over $250,000 and to businesses, all of it really going to those groups. That's how they get the reduction, the deficit, essentially by cutting what you're giving to the less well-off people, giving a good bit of it back to rich people, and you end up with a little bit of deficit reduction.
Okay.
All right. So you basically got a quick synopsis of what the AHCA is. Okay. Now you heard from Steve Ratner. Did any of you hear yourself involved in those numbers? Because I can assure you, if you're a Trump supporter, that you probably fall into the category of the people who are going to be screwed the most by the AHCA. Some of you don't even realize that the reason you even have health coverage is because of Obamacare. Some of you don't even realize that. Some of you are so bitter and so angry and just want to support Donald Trump that you are willing to screw yourself over just to support this man. Trump supporters, you don't realize that you are in an abusive relationship with this man. Trump is constantly fucking you over while you go out and become his apologists. Some of you like him because you thought he was the good old country white boy like you. Sorry, he's from Queens, New York. He grew up around mafiosas, not cornfields. People like you repulse him. But he'll use you to keep fucking you over so that him and his friends and everybody else can get rich. Were you proud of the way he treated Chancellor Merkel from Germany? One of our allies? Somebody that we actually need in this global fight against terrorism? Are you happy that he insulted U.S. closest ally Britain by making up false and damaging accusations against them and not apologizing? Is that what you wanted from a president? Besides all the other things that he has done, all the things that are going to affect you, do you realize what damage he's done to the United States standing around the world? He accused Britain of damaging accusations. And then he didn't even apologize for it when it came out that what he said was false. Do you realize how less safe we are now that he's POTUS? We are so vulnerable and soon to be an alienated nation. This time period, by far, is the best time if you are one of our enemies to attack us. We're losing friends. When a country attacks us or a terrorist attack happens, who will come to the U.S. aid? Who won't think that we instigated it? Who won't think that we allowed an erratic, crazy dictator to cause these conflicts? Who? Do you think our 5% of the world population can take on the rest of the world? Did you know that we were 5% of the world population? That 95% of the world is not the United States of America? Are you homicidal or suicidal? What is your deal? Did you want us to be hated around the globe? Because you decided to vote for a man that works solely for the rich? And you know what Britain said about what Donald Trump and his administration said, which was really Sean Spicer, who's just a complete and total idiot? Britain's response for being accused of basically spying on Donald Trump. This is what they said. Recent allegations made by media commentator Judge Andrew Napolitano about GCHQ being asked to conduct wiretapping against the then president-elect are nonsense. They are utterly ridiculous and should be ignored. When does Britain come out against us like that? When does Britain take those kind of harsh statements, make those kind of harsh statements against us? When do they do that? Can you recall a time in history when they've done that, actually, when we've been allies and this close? But no, we have the President of the United States saying that these guys are basically spying on him like he's of that much importance to Britain. I mean, maybe he is now because he's the President of the United States, but I'm not even sure anybody considers him the President of the United States anymore. Were you further inspired by his tweets on North Korea and China? Were you happy about that? Were you happy about the fact that he's sitting there telling nuclear powers that this is condemning them basically on Twitter, not in some private room where they're doing intelligence, where the rest of us get to sleep in peace and we have to worry about what's going on. We're not even concerned about it because it's not something that we have to deal with. No, instead, he starts to chastise North Korea and China to the rest of the world on Twitter. This is not somebody who has any kind of restraint, no kind of filter, no kind of control. This is a sociopath. And you are being conned by a sociopath. And how about those jobs? Is he really bringing back the jobs? Are your pockets getting bigger? He promised to bring back manufacturing jobs, remember? Oh, you don't remember when he said he was going to bring back manufacturing jobs? Oh, well, let me just play a clip real quick to remind you of when he said that he was going to bring back manufacturing jobs. Because tell me if you're seeing them in your rural areas, those manufacturing jobs. Remember when he said he'd bring them back? Here he is.
Manufacturing back to America, creating high-wage jobs, was one of our campaign promises and themes, and it resonated with everybody. As you know, the United States lost 1/3 of our manufacturing jobs since NAFTA, and 70,000 factories closed since China joined the WTO. My administration's policies and regulatory reform, tax reform, trade policies will return significant manufacturing jobs to our country. Everything's going to be based on bringing our jobs back, the good jobs, the real jobs. I actually said to my people, find a country where we actually do well. So far, we haven't found that country. It's just losses with everybody, and we're going to turn that around.
Okay, so you heard him, right? Saying he was going to bring manufacturing jobs back to the United States. I hate to break the news to you, but manufacturing jobs are not coming back to the United States of America. Manufacturing jobs just walk away because of NAFTA. Manufacturing jobs walked away because of automation. Manufacturing jobs walked away because they were able to use systems instead of individuals, which cost them less money. That people were able to use labor in countries where it cost them like 30 cents per hour. That's the stuff that Bernie Sanders was talking about. That's the stuff that Bernie Sanders was sitting here fighting against. That's the reason why, because of all of its corporate greed, they're shipping the jobs across the other nations. You think they're going to bring their jobs back? You're paying someone 30 cents an hour. You're going to have to pay somebody over here at least $8.25 according to minimum wage. Why would you do it? You're literally going to have to pay like $8 more per hour per person to do the stuff here. These jobs are not coming back. He may be able to keep some plant in the United States that was about to go overseas. They were already doing business in the United States. He worked out some kind of deal with them where they'll be able to continue to get rich and screw the rest of the world over. But those jobs are not coming back, those manufacturing jobs. You were conned. He conned you. And now the rest of us have to suffer. And I'm not trying to beat up on you, but yes, I am. And yes, that's a contradiction, but you know what? It's intentional contradiction. I'm not trying to beat up on you, but yes, I am. I know it is hard to admit that you were wrong, but in this case, you better admit it to yourself before he ruins this country any further. He is not going to make America great again. Have you seen him making America great again? Does it feel better for you? Does it feel better because maybe you can say a few racist words, or maybe you can be a misogynist in public, or because you can speak out, you speak your mind out there? Is that what it is about him that makes you feel better? Because you understand that if at any time you decide that you want to go against him, or you want to speak out against him, or you just disagree with him, he is no longer your ally. You're not free. You think he's making this place a much more free country? No, he's making it a much more corrupt country. That's what he's doing. He's not draining the swamp. He's filling up the swamp. I showed you. I'm not lying to you. These are facts. Whether you want to believe them or not, they're facts. He's enriching himself and his family. He's costing taxpayers millions to secure 3 locations: the White House, Trump Tower in New York, and Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago is not another White House. He keeps on saying that's the people's house. If it's the people's house, it should be owned by the people. He needs to give up title. No, but he's not going to give up title because he wants to use Mar-a-Lago to make money. He makes appearances there because that's where people go to be able to talk to him, to get deals from the United States. Did you know that he increased the cost of Mar-a-Lago membership to $200,000 from $100,000 since he became president? Why did it need to go up so much? This is just a money-making enterprise for Donald Trump. He doesn't care about you. He never cared about you. He doesn't even know people like you. He didn't even bring in one person like you to be even an advisor to his campaign. Advise us on rural issues. Advise us on the white working class. He didn't bring in anybody to do that. He doesn't want to know what's going on with you. He played you, and we've been trying to tell you guys that for a long time. He used you to get richer and richer while he doesn't even care what happens to you, whether you get hurt or not. And you think I'm lying that he doesn't care whether you get hurt or not? Listen to this Tucker Carlson exchange between Donald Trump and him and Tucker Carlson about people like you, Trump supporters. Listen to this exchange, and then you tell me. This is Fox News. This isn't me. This isn't my propaganda. Listen to this exchange, and then come back to me and tell me where you even remotely hear him saying that he cares about people like you. Listen to him. This is Donald Trump on the ACHA.
Has as one of its centerpieces a tax cut for investors that would primarily benefit people making over $250,000 a year. Already done pretty well in the past 10 years, as you know.
Yeah.
A Bloomberg analysis showed that counties that voted for you, middle-class and working-class counties, would do far less well under this bill than the counties that voted for Hillary, the more affluent counties. seems like
very
maybe this
preliminary
isn't
talk.
consistent with the message of the last election.
No, a lot of things aren't consistent, but these are going to be negotiated. We've got to go to the Senate. We're going to see what happens in the Senate. Now, right now, we have 5 or 6 senators that look like maybe they're not. I'm talking about Republican senators, because we're not going to get one Democrat to vote for it. Again, if this bill were perfect, if it was the greatest thing for Democrats and Republicans, we wouldn't get one Democrat vote. They're going to vote against it. Because of selfish, because of stupidity, because it's politics. It's really bad for our country.
Okay, did you hear him after he told him that the people who are going to be affected the most are going to be his supporters? He said, yeah, I know. Like, I don't give a shit. Who cares? They're going to vote for me anyway. They're so stupid. I'm going to play them as much as I want to play them. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And did you hear him even showing any further concern? No, the only thing he was concerned about is the fact that Democrats weren't going to vote for it because of stupidity and whatever else and partisan and whatever. You're the ranting and raving of a madman. Did you hear him at any point show any concern for the people who had voted for him, the people who had put him in the office? Did you? I didn't. He never cared about you Trump supporters. He never cared. You can continue to tell yourself that everything we're doing, all these people in the resistance, all these people opposing Donald Trump, we're all fake news. That everything we're saying is fake. You can keep telling yourself that we aren't less safe. You can just keep telling yourself that. You can continue to hate the media, who I don't even like so much. I don't like the media, but I know when the media is telling the truth and when the media is lying. I don't think everything the media says is a lie. I mean, I know how to decipher between fact and fiction. Do you? The problem is you can say all these things, but you cannot change what is actually a fact. A fact is not disputable. A fact is not something that you can argue about. A fact is a fact. And everything I just showed you are facts. These aren't me. I didn't make up statements that Donald Trump said. I didn't make up that interview between Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump. I didn't make up the fact that he made these promises to you and you're seeing now that he can't fulfill them. I didn't make up the fact that he filled the whole place with Goldman Sachs and billionaires. I didn't make that up. You see it yourself and you're still continuing to support this man. Facts are facts. Trump is running the biggest con, and you are his prey, Trump supporters. Now that you know, now that you see that he's used you, what do you plan to do about it? I'm tired of trying to sympathize with you. I'm tired of trying to understand why you did this. I'm tired of trying to defend the fact that I think that you did this because there were some rational reasons to do it. I used to be able to defend you, but after all the things that he's done, since he has become president, and not couple that with everything else he did while he was running for president, I can't defend you anymore. How can you condone what this man is doing? It is criminal. What he's done to this country, what he's done to our standing around the world, what he's done to his own supporters, what he's about to do to the poor, Meals on Wheels, all these programs about to cut, he's about to cut art programs, everything else, all these things he's about to do to the American public, and you still support him. I can no longer sympathize with you. Get your head out of your ass. This guy is screwing you over. He doesn't care about you, doesn't care about this country, and he's going to wreck this country, him and Steve Bannon, and all these other people that want to see the United States be undermined. I can't defend you anymore until you start defending yourself. That's our show for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for staying tuned in. It's very difficult putting these shows together sometimes, but I hope that you guys were entertained. And I'm going to close this show out. This is Dicey. Until next time, this is Candor Talk Live. Have a good one. Oh, and one more thing. Come back and see us next Saturday at 11 o'clock. Good night.